am so glad that you have joined me today. Let's have a conversation. There's a part of becoming that no one really prepares you for. We pray for clarity, for strength, for freedom and alignment. When those prayers begin to answer, we expect it to feel like arrival, like confidence, certainty, and ease. But it's not. Becoming the woman you prayed for, most times, doesn't even feel like winning. Often it feels like losing things you once depended on. And that's the part no one really talks about. We tend to imagine becoming as something that adds to our lives more confidence, more peace, or more authority. But in reality, becoming begins by removing what no longer fits, old roles, old dynamics, or old ways of surviving that once made sense but no longer do. And when those things start to fall away, it can feel unsettling, even painful, not because something is wrong, but because something is changing. Here are some of the hidden costs of becoming that don't get named. One is outgrowing familiar relationships, not because you've become better than anyone, but because the version of you that fits so neatly into certain spaces no longer exists, and that can be lonely. Another is realizing there was never a reward for overfunctioning. Once you stop being the fixer, the emotional glue, the one who carries more than her share, you begin to see clearly that what felt like appreciation was dependence. What felt like closeness was expectation. You realize being needed was never the same as being valued, which leaves you to learn how to exist without earning your place through exhaustion. Then there's also the cost of losing old identities that once protected you, those identities that kept you safe, helped you belong, and got you through hard seasons. Letting those go can feel like losing a part of yourself, even when you know they no longer serve who you're becoming. And then there's the cost of being misunderstood in the middle of change. When you're no longer who you were, but not yet fully who you're becoming, people may no longer know where to place you. That in between can feel quiet and exposed. If this landed for you, you're not alone. These conversations are here to help make sense of what's happening beneath the surface. I'll be here every week holding space for moments like this. And if you'd like to stay in this conversation, I'd love to have you. I want to name something clearly. This process has nothing to do with physical age. Becoming isn't tied to how many years you've lived. It's tied to awareness, readiness, and willingness. There is no timeline for becoming, only moments when the soul is ready to move differently. Another part of becoming that often goes unspoken is grief. Grief for versions of yourself that worked hard to protect you, grief for relationships that made sense in an earlier chapter, and grief for certainty. One thing you have to understand is that grief doesn't mean you're going backward. It means something meaningful is being released. So, how do you know you're actually becoming even when it feels uncomfortable? Well, at first, becoming won't show up as bold confidence. It normally shows up quietly. You find that you pause instead of react. You tolerate uncertainty longer. You explain yourself less. You feel calmer, not louder, before anything changes externally. You'll notice your standards shift. Becoming is subtle before it's visible. If this season feels harder than you expected, quieter, lonelier, or more disorienting than you imagined, it doesn't mean the prayer failed